DJs have been very important to, I guess, the development of the electronic music scene over time. If you look back at the role of the DJ historically, it originally started as the disc jockey. They were there to play somebody else's record purely and simply for radio. But then you had like the reggae sound systems and disco DJs who would value add to that by adding some techniques, slowing down, speeding up, mixing two records together, so making something new out of other people's material. But that still wasn't, I guess, they weren't the originators of the material. They were still there to facilitate, but they were doing it in a creative way. I guess through the 70s and then into the 80s, DJs became more creative and they started to generate scenes. So they, for example, the DJs in the US, in Detroit and in Chicago, they would take like Kraftwerk records from the 70s and they would take just a little bit of it and repeat it, so they would actually create something new. So there was a transition from facilitator through to creative facilitator into somebody that was actually producing original music out of small pieces of other people's work. So the new thing was the sum of its parts, but in itself it was original. So I mean, over time the DJ's role has changed from a pure facilitator through to a facilitator with some creative input. I guess more in terms of creative manipulation. Then the DJ started to introduce some original concepts. They actually became producers of their own works. Right. From the mid-80s onwards, you saw again a change in DJ culture from sort of the backroom DJ who was producing something original to that coming into the forefront. And when you have clubs like the Hacienda in England, you saw this transition in DJ culture where the DJ really was the pivotal person in the environment. They were playing, they were value adding their selections of material. So the Hacienda DJs like Mike Pickering and others were very, very important to the scene. And then later on, Paul Oakenfold as a DJ got involved in production, so he was responsible for that Manchester sound of the Happy Monday. So the DJs actually got involved in the production of original music, adding their influences as a club persona into the production of the original music. So the role of the DJ has changed significantly over the years, and now these days the DJ is the superstar. They're the ones that the people respond to, which I have varying degrees of feeling about. But certainly over time, that evolution of the DJ has been a very important part of the development of the electronic music scene.
I decided to become a DJ through just falling into it. I was living in a house full of DJs, my brother and a couple of DJs around, and it was just I just fall into these things. I had an interest in the music. I was going to record shops. So the surrounding in the household was always electronic music and dance music. So I was that was quite an impact on my life, and still to this day I have lots of electronic music running around in the house. Yes.
When I first started promoting, it was all pretty high energy stuff, and although there was a lot of credible artists, like Visions of Shiva, which was Paul Van Dyke, and Cosmic Baby, you had all your Frank DeWolfs and all that sort of stuff. But as time would go on, and you wanted to go one better as a promoter, I became very infatuated with the Detroit scene, and I was very instrumental in bringing the Bellevue 3 over here, which of course was Juan Atkins and Kevin Saunderson and Derek May, and that really didn't leave me. And years later, I'm still bringing out Detroit artists, although as not as much as I'd like to. So I was fascinated by the birthplace of it. As I was fascinated in Detroit, I was also infatuated with Manchester and Chicago, and like I said before, the intrigue, just drove you deep into it.
Well, there's house, tribal house, deep house, tech house, minimal house, Afro house, breakbeat, dubstep, tech breaks, funky breaks. What else is there? Techno, minimal techno, glitch, click house, deep house. I mean, I probably mentioned that one. Dubstep, drum and bass, tech step, dubstep.
I guess industrial, electro house, tech house, minimal tech house, disco, high energy disco, high NRG, micro sound, experimental, sound art, ambient, post-ambient, post-rock, post-everything.
You got ambient, industrial, breaks, big beat, cut and paste, new school breaks, progressive breaks. I think you've even got dark electro, Miami bass, drum and bass. Of course, there's always the classic trance, the acid trance, the progressive trance, the hard style trance, the Euro trance, the epic trance, the tech trance, the uplifting trance. Of course, then you've got your future step, your ethnic electronic, and your future pop, aggro tech, tech funk, power noise, acid house, the Chicago house, deep house, electronic house, French house, funky house, high energy, hard house, hip house, Italian house, Latino house, tribal house, garage, New York house, and of course there's the tech house and the minimal house that's all the rage at the moment. Going on even further, you've even got speed garage, two-step jungle, breakbeat, dubstep, grime, four-to-the-floor garage, the dark step, futures step, and Euro funk.
A lot of IDM, we're into EBM as well, a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know, all the stuff you add core to the end of is pretty good.
You know, I think there's some really good stuff coming out, and to me it's really the things that don't fit in any style, of people who are just doing something to the extreme, or you know, just some kind of finesse and some kind of idiosyncrasy about it that makes it appeal to me, you know, and it really gets inside my head and makes me, you know, very excited.
During the post-punk era, the late 70s, early 80s, it seemed to be much easier for a band, or there was a shorter path for a band from the point of having an idea recorded to it being potentially picked up by a record label and being, you know, distributed, especially in places like England and overseas where you had that independent record label network. You know, a demo, you know, you could go from demo to Top of the Pops in the space of, you know, a month. Whereas now, and that was sheerly because of the you know, there was only a certain amount of output being produced by people that had access to certain equipment. Whereas now everybody has access to all manner of equipment and everybody has access to instant distribution. So for that reason, there's just a huge flood of material now. So I think the biggest challenge is filtering through the chaff to actually get at some, you know, filtering the chaff to get to the quality, I think is facing the biggest challenge. Or making yourself, I guess as an artist, you know, finding your way through that large amount of stuff that's out there.